bit of excitement in the team today about the possibility of finding a lot of caves, so we will see what we find. We opted today for side mount configuration. This is usually a configuration that we'll like to use, first of all, because of the logistics of carrying the equipment in the jungle, taking it through a little bit of dry cave passage to get to the water, and finally it is easy for us to just walk over rock piles. This is quite flexible as an equipment configuration. This is what we're going to be using here just to scout the cave and to see really where the cave is going. We have been doing this kind of scouting dive with side mount for a very long time, but there is eventually certain limitation with side mount configuration, and we have absolutely no problem switching back to a back-mounted equipment that enables us usually to take a lot more equipment. We are using the same procedures, the same team concept, the same preparedness for all of the dives that we're doing, no matter what kind of configuration we're using. A little bit of walking to actually get to here, so a little bit of logistics. We had cut trails already Monday, so we continued on here a little bit today with another 150 meters of trail cutting. We finally made it to the cenote, we got the gear ready, and we're about to actually do the dive. This is a very beautiful cenote with a little bit of a dry cave in the back. The water is absolutely crystal clear, picture perfect of what you think a cenote should look like. There's a lot of roots here. There's a little bit of pottery shards right there, and there is a calcite slope dropping down to about, we gauge swimming it, about 12 meters. After that, we do not know where the cave is going to take us. Perhaps we've done all of that work for nothing, but unless you make the effort to do it, you never know what's below the waterline, right?
Over the past 5 years, we have worked closely with landowners in the jungle inland from Shpuha. On each property, we methodically analyze and document karst features, and over time have created a significant patchwork of work sites. This area represents the southern limit of LiDAR imagery showing elevation changes, and this imagery is really instrumental in finding previously hidden cave openings. Every line represents elevation change of 50 centimeters, and although this would not be significant elsewhere, here in the Yucatan Peninsula, this slight change really stands out in this flat topography. But still, on average, the LiDAR imagery has less than 5% success rate, and much time is spent in the jungle visiting nothing more than a bowl-shaped depression with no cave opening. After hearing of our work on neighboring properties, one particular landowner was very interested in knowing if their remote plot of land had cenotes or not. But unfortunately, the land was just outside of the range of the LiDAR imagery, so we had to resort to less effective satellite imagery. Several targets of low potential were identified, and so in August of 2018, another excursion was mounted to hike out to see what was actually there. Luck was on our side this time, as one of the targets turned out to be a beautiful dry cave leading to a pool of blue water. A Mayan-era ruin of a small structure stood nearby, and pottery shards were found on the rough steps leading to the water. It was clear this had been an active watering hole before being abandoned several hundred years prior. We named the cenote Oro, or gold. Before leaving the site, we took advantage of being so far into the jungle already to push another 100 meters further to a slightly darker patch of vegetation on the satellite imagery. What we found was an even bigger dry cave and another pool of clear water. What could be better than Oro? Diamante, or Diamond, was the name we chose, and pledged to come back one day to dive both of these openings. 2 years passed until our growing relations with the area's landowners gave access to a road that would bring us within range to feasibly carry the heavy dive equipment out to these virgin cenotes. So in July of this year, we were able to escape the lockdown for some outdoor adventure. We cut trails, hauled out heavy gear, and began the funnest part, diving. We also paused along the way to try to film some of the adventures for those of you who couldn't travel to Mexico to join us.
I'm filming, keep going.
As is often the case with cave exploration, not all turns out as expected. Although visually stunning, Cenote Oro turned out to be sealed by sediment less than 50 meters from where it began. But Cenote Diamante made up for these disappointments. After our pre-dive checks, we descended down a silty slope to a water depth of 12 meters. The cave leveled off and headed southeast through large white rooms with some speleothems still hanging from the otherwise crumbly ceiling. As the cave narrowed, it dropped down to a depth of 20 meters and eventually became too small to pass. Returning on a different day, we poked into 2 small tunnels leading from the main tunnel, and in one found ancient animal remains. The second branch ended in a shallow, beautifully decorated air dome. But on a third day of exploration, we found a way around the dome through a corkscrew of restrictions. The underwater cave properly ended, though, in another air dome, but the adventure didn't end. Light streamed in from an opening in the ceiling, so getting out of our equipment, we climbed out to the jungle. We named the new cenote Corcel. And as is often the case, a few meters further was another distinct opening leading to yet another pool of cool, clear water. More exploration to do, but we first needed to find out whose land we were on in order to gain permission first. It might seem trivial, as the landowner would likely never even know that we were there, but our relations with landowners are extremely valuable, and this strict etiquette that we have has really paid off over the years, and we hope to continue the exploration here soon. In the meantime, though, we are working on a detailed map of what we have found to date and have returned to capture more video footage. Chance also plays a part in exploration. Late in the afternoon, after returning from a long day in Cenote Oro, we stumbled upon a small cenote with brown, tannin tainted water. After Cenote Oro and Diamante, we thought Bronce, or bronze, would be an appropriate name as a third prize cenote. Bronce was a steep slope down to 25 meters. On the floor at 27 meters, we didn't find the halocline, and that to us is quite strange, because to be that deep and still be in fresh water really means that these caves do not have a clear connection to the sea. Eventually I think we would find it if we got deeper, but it must be somewhere below 27 meters of depth. The cave passage itself ended in a collapsed room barely 100 meters in, but a very interesting little cenote to end our adventure with.